Yeah, I got it. I mean, I got it.
So I apologize.
Yeah, I mean, it's on the thingy.
It is on the thing, yeah.
I'm going to call this policy committee meeting in order here today, Tuesday, February 21st, 2023 at 5 o'clock p.m. Committee members are myself, the chair, Brandy Flores, and our newly appointed Julie Pappas. And then Ashley Belt is also here with us, board member. All right. All committee members are here in order. All right, public comment. Any public comment for the policy? All right, we're going to go right into Press Plus Policy Issue 110. Everybody had it. I see it came out 4 days ago. Everybody looked it over. Okay, any questions? Any concerns?
In the...
And I'll be using my phone.
Yes. I made myself notes, but I didn't write down which policy it pertained to. Yep, 770 civic event. What's considered a civic event?
It's pretty loosely event, but in general, if they want to go to a memorial service or something like that, if it's deemed like under the social studies guide auspice of a civics event, that is what's normally accepted.
Okay, and then...
We have not had someone use that yet, but it's one day. We're
I'll
not.
tell my daughter about
Has
it.
it
She'll
been asked?
figure out a way.
Anybody asked about it?
Is that like protests or
No, it'd be like if in Springfield on Thursday they're having or let's say today they had a President's Day something in Springfield or whatever they want to call it. That'd be a civic event, so they could go and they could attend that.
Okay.
And they have that excused absence.
Gotcha.
Okay. Just wasn't sure. That was, and then,
You just say what it's under, the ones you're asking.
yeah, and then, well, the
That was
7.70 and the 7.18, that IWAS, that's just submitting to them that we are submitting to the Illinois Association of School Board that we're compliant.
Well, it's not the school board, but yes, it's the Illinois, the state, the ISB. So that's
Okay.
what, so 7180 basically says, you already have this in place, your policy exists, you need to now submit it. So it's a lot of copy and pasting onto the Iowa's website.
So then we're just adding that, we're gonna submit to say that we're compliant.
Correct, that's what Press Policy 110 says, that that's the new addition to it. They do it for the bullying policy and the attendance policy. Those are the two that are now required by state on a bi-yearly basis.
And then the 520, the hairstyle.
Yeah.
Yes.
We don't enforce that or anything, we don't
We
have a hairstyle.
have never once
I
asked
didn't
a
think so.
child to cut their hair for any
Okay.
purposes.
I didn't think so.
Again,
I saw that on there, I
I do
didn't think it
believe in the state of
pertained.
Illinois you can.
That's why this.
Yeah, I
Yep.
saw
There was an issue, I actually do this case study in my, in my social studies class about a child that they wouldn't allow to walk across the stage because his dreads. And then there was a whole thing because if they weren't tied up and stuff like that. And it was a huge issue. So we talk about that and discuss it.
I
So
do
that's
believe
one.
that the law was passed that weekend.
Yeah.
Correct.
Well, I just didn't think we ever did. That's why when I saw this on there, I was like, I didn't think.
So a
it
lot of
really
these
pertained to
are
us.
technically laws now, they
Yeah.
just, over the past year, when they update the policy handbook, they say you have to now put this within your policy.
Okay.
Again,
Is there any other questions on Press Plus Policy Issue 110?
I like to see that a lot of this is already in.
Okay, since I have no other discussion on that, we'll move on to Policy 460, Operational Services, Purchases and Contracts. I see that was highlighted for 5,000. Discussion.
Right, so again, we all know that things are rising in costs and things like that. So what I'm asking for the policy committee to consider is, my limit is 5,000. So if anything costs $5,001,
We have to have a meeting.
you have to have a meeting for you guys to pass it. And I'm hoping that I've shown over the last 2 years that I'm financially reliable, that I'm not spending for nothing. And 5,000 in today's market is not a lot of money. And so I'm asking maybe the policy committee to look at that number and either adjust it to 7,500, so it allows a little bit more leniency, especially with the way things are, pipes, things like that. There's not a construction piece that you can do much that's close to under $5,000. So a lot of it's waiting. And
So how is this separate from the 25,000?
so 25,000 is a bid process. So anything between 5,000 and it could be up to 50,000. There's things that you have to bid out differently. But anything between 5,000 and $24,999, it goes to the board says, all right, why do you want this? And then I talk to you guys about it, and then you go through that process and say, oh, okay, that's fine.
Okay.
Once you're at 25,000 or other events, if it's 50,000, we then go out to the bid process. We still try to like to get the bids in when it's anything between 10 to 25, just so you guys can see that we've done our research, but it's not by law required to do the bidding process. After 25 it is.
So the 5,000 examples would be under that construction issues and,
So Mike wanted to have now again, it could be deemed emergency, so it kind of circumvents the 5,000. But if Mike would have came to me and said, hey, Jack, in the next 2 weeks, we have to get this tunnel, the one that was descaled. If they would have come back and instead of saying it's 4,000, if they would have said, hey, it's $5,500, we couldn't have done it until we had a special board meeting.
okay.
So those are the kind of things that,
I would say, I know things have gone up, but leave it where it's at, and I understand an emergency, like you said. Then use your discretion, and then bring those to the board. I mean, I just don't see raising it, because I think things are gonna come down, I think major projects are done. But hey, committee, what do you guys think?
I'm fine with raising it. I understand why. I would be fine to raise it to 10. Yeah, that's right now.
Ms. Flores?
I don't know, I'm a little bit torn, not that I don't, trust you.
I'm not
But-
offended by any conversation you're about to have.
Yeah, I mean, I just want to make sure that we,
I don't know about doubling it. I mean, if you said 7,500, that's a little closer to where, but, like, how often does this really, that's the other thing, like, how often has this really been a problem?
Only when we have like larger
Yeah.
issues that it comes up to be a problem, and then,
Emergency type?
Yeah,
right, and a lot of times we can deem it an emergency,
and get around it.
right. I just don't like having to call something an emergency to get around, I don't like to
Yeah.
circumvent rules. It's
Yeah.
not, that's
Yeah.
not,
Yeah, and
especially
I
when it comes to
understand.
the finances,
Yeah.
I try to make things as clean and upfront as I can.
Mm-hmm. For me, this is, and I'm good with 7,500 too. It's just, it's making sure that we're not micromanaging, we're trusting, the
When if we
strategic
say,
vision.
if we recommend it, it has to go to the board for a vote, right? So
You
we're
still have
just-
to do a
Yeah,
first
we're just
reading
saying,
always.
yeah, give it a chance. I don't mind
Yeah.
putting it to vote. I mean, you, for $7,500,
That's fine.
we can put it to vote, and if it passes, it passes, if it doesn't, it doesn't.
As everybody knows, I'll stay at 5, but I
Yeah.
can move to 75 if that's what this committee wants to push.
Okay. I support that.
So I'll put a first reading in for
I'm
75.
torn.
Oh, sorry.
You gotta make a decision.
Apologies.
Yeah, I mean, let's bring it to the board and see what, what everybody's opinion about it is. I think in that time frame, I might ask a couple more questions.
Yeah.
So, and then bring that information back to the board.
Okay, sounds good.
Yeah, this does not mean I'm going to be spending more money. I want to make that
Yeah.
abundantly
Right.
clear to everybody. I'm not
I'm
asking.
sure we'll hold you accountable.
Exactly, I would expect you to. It just allows a little bit more leniency or some.
All right, so any more questions on policy 460? No? All right, let's move on to the cell phone policy. Mr. Gahan or Mr. Meyer, somebody.
Or misspelled.
So, yeah, this was a topic that was brought up again by Ms. Belt. So I will say that Mr. Meyer, back in August, he tried to implement a cell phone policy at the high school. When he reached out to, not our legal group, but a legal group that represents principals, there was some hesitation on their end, mainly due to the liability that exists if a cell phone breaks in the possession of us. And so he, at that time, didn't recommend Mr. Meyer moving forward with it. And so it never fully got to you guys because of Mr. Meyer wasn't going to back it, and he had some concerns. Obviously, he wasn't going to try to make you guys back something. So throughout the year, we've looked at the situations, and we do find that the biggest culprits of cyberbullying issues when it comes to online is when obviously kids have their phones during the school day, in particular classes when they're kind of just supposed to be studying and doing work. And so Ms. Belt has asked us to revisit this topic regarding the cell phone policy. And I guess the big thing here as a board is you can implement the policy as long as you're willing to accept the liability that
And I
could exist.
think I have a workaround on that. Instead of, the original idea was to have like a hanging chart or something in the room where they would drop it off when they get there. What's stopping us from saying in our handbook or whatever that it has to be powered off and locked in their locker? It doesn't even need to come into the classroom. It shouldn't leave their locker, because then we're not liable for anything. They have the lock.
Go ahead, that's it.
So this has been a problem. Last year at our school, it was a horrible problem where I work. And we weren't backed. And this is the issue with this, is that you can have these policies, which ours is turned off and away. But if you're not backed by all the teachers and admin and everything, it doesn't work, which is what has become very frustrating, is that in this year, it's supposed to be not allowed. So if the kid has it out, that is their warning. 2, we're supposed to call security or an admin to come and take their phone for the rest of the day. To which I say, put it on my desk, and you can have it back at the end of class, or if that's a problem, then somebody will come and take it for the rest of the day, which they always put it on my desk. But now, like with the kids now with their AirPods, their hoods are up like this and they have their AirPods in, it's a constant battle. And so one thing that I would wonder with this is, because I'm supportive of putting them away, especially for cyberbullying issues and things like that, is how do the teachers feel about this? Like, are they struggling in their classes with these kids always having their phones out and not listening to put away? Do you know?
I would say, just like you said, I've got some that will absolutely, they follow it, they take care of it, it's not a problem. I've got others that, we're done, take out your phone for a little bit, but that
Right.
undermines everything.
It does.
So that's a struggle. I am going to, whatever we decide tonight, or whatever you guys talk about tonight, I do have a Bravo team, which is our leadership team tomorrow, to discuss, hey, this is back on our plate. Right now, they're not supposed to have it per se on in their room. Do people hide them in their hoods and their rear end, and everywhere else? Sure. But they're not supposed to use it during class. They can have it during passing periods, they can have it during lunch, and I gave them study hall. So I gave them 3 opportunities to have their phone. I thought that was fair, but again, I can tell you that I've had teachers say, but have I had one teacher write up a student for having their phone? I have not, I will tell you that. So I think
that
kids
could
know-
mean that they're not fighting it, or it could mean that the kids listen if they say put them away.
And I think that kids know who you can per se get away with and who you can't.
Right. I've also seen, to be honest with you, pictures of teachers, video of teachers on social media.
Oh, I'm,
During
Which is
the
not
school day.
right.
Yeah.
I believe strongly that, I just heard earbuds in and your hoodie on.
Oh,
Take your hoodie off,
That's-
take your
Dude.
earbuds out.
you're talking my whole entire day around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We don't
We're
have-
talking
yeah.
here, do we see that a lot here?
right, I know.
No.
You
The-
don't see the whole.
I'm going to tell you, and Mr. Gaham can acknowledge this, do I have some teachers that don't confront the hoods? Yes. But when I walk by they know what to do. And again, I'm not
Good.
saying right when they go around the corner, they don't put
Yeah,
it back up.
yeah.
But
That's my school.
I don't think in class, well, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
that. Like you said, some teachers, boom, it's not a problem.
And well, here's the reason I don't want to take their phone. Something happens, their phone's locked in their locker, they're locked in a classroom, they don't have their phone, okay? I'm coming from a safety issue there. Phone off, not using it in class, maybe some discipline there if they are. Teacher writes them up, or at the discretion of the teacher, if she wants to let them at the end of class for the last 10 minutes or whatever to use it. But I just can't see locking in a locker or taking it away from them, because,
But we have phones in every classroom.
Oh.
No, you don't? Okay.
Oh.
Your
Yes.
button.
And
Yeah.
So if there's
And one of the things, like with older kids, if God forbid something that would happen, that's where I'm hesitant, that I totally agree with the off and put away and out of sight.
but they're not following that.
But, right.
Because they're not,
I would- I
some
don't
are,
know.
but I
Yes.
mean,
I don't know about
But
that.
I'm saying
I
I've
wouldn't want them
seen-
put away.
like you
Yeah.
said, teachers, students,
I guess
videos
this is the
in
question.
school, in class.
how many times have you just said 0 write-ups, right?
I have it 0. Now, if we
So we're
had
not
cell
a-
phones in the pocket that the teachers have said, go put,
Yeah.
absolutely, 100%. But that hasn't gotten to me as a referral from any teacher, but yes, there have been cell phones put in our office because of that. I know teachers do the same thing that Ms. Pappas does, that if it's out, put it on my desk. 100%, I am definitely aware of that.
So
And
it's
I don't
also
care if
when
they don't
you're
have
when you're
pockets, they can sit
asking
on it.
the staff to do that too, it's also maybe a battle they don't want to fight, because like you said, if you don't have the support, or you feel you don't have the support, or you don't want that fight because they're gonna go home and then their parents gonna be up in arms because you told their kid, but Susie had one and Jimmy had one, but you were picking on me, you know?
So respectfully, this is where a school board makes the difference. Because Mr. Meyer can implement anything he wants at the high school level. But the second someone doesn't like what Mr. Meyer does and he comes to the board and the board says, well, it's not a policy,
Yeah.
Mr. Meyer, you can't do that. This is a top-down thing. So if the school board sits here and says, or when this goes through the second reading, and says, Beecher 200U will not have cell phones on during the school day or during a classroom setting, and anyone who is caught using a phone will be disciplined, that's from the board itself. And then the teachers will follow suit.
Yes, as long as that phone is on, like, if the rule is, you can't be on it
Correct.
during class, or your earbuds on or your hoodie, as you say. You know, that, I understand, but you guys gotta, at the administration level, the board is not here to micromanage, but we'll pass it down, I'll put it on there, you know, if everybody's in agreement, but I don't want the phones locked in their lockers, and I don't want them taken away.
So I would like one step further, because when I subbed at the junior high here, the kids were allowed their phones at certain things or whatever, and they all followed it. They didn't have them out during class, like they were wonderful, because that's the expectation from the teachers set. What I would like, and this is just my suggestion, is that Mr. Meyer would talk to his teachers, because if they're not gonna follow through, it's pointless too. I mean, like I said, Crete has this is what it is, this is, you know, they're supposed to be off and on, but is that fully, no, because everybody needs to buy in.
But it's a board policy that comes down, they shall, you know, we can't,
Right.
I'm not gonna sit here as a board member or as a committee member and say, they're not gonna buy in, because I believe that we got dual followers and our teachers are dual followers. So I'm assuming that we wanna go with.
It's just, I want to allow him to talk to staff, talk to his leadership and his admin, and then maybe bring to us what they would suggest would be functional, and then us discuss and do that. That's personally with me, because I just.
Well, but everyone's gonna have a different.
Oh, sure.
And that's when he did it before.
But we're not in the school, and I feel that this is, I understand like that we need to set something, but I feel like this should be in collaboration instead of, I feel it's a very slippery slope with micromanaging here.
But it was
No,
brought to
we
us
make
by
the
the
policy,
administration.
yeah, you make
So
a
it's not
policy and then it gets, and
So the micromanagement here would be you guys telling us how to enforce it.
we're not doing
asking-
that, we're just saying
Yeah,
this is
we're not
the rule.
asking the
It
board's
cannot be on
position
during the day. If it is, this is the repercussion.
Right.
End of story.
You can't
How
be
they
on
do
it.
it in their building.
Just can't be on it.
Yeah, that's what it needs to be on.
Who's gonna look in somebody's, my bugle boy bag and say, I'm just joking, guys. Bugle boy, right?
You're dating yourself.
Taking us back, right? And say, oh, their phone is on. As long as they're not on, it's not ringing.
Yeah,
I don't have.
Well, the ringing is not the problem. The problem is the videos, the texting, the social media, the smack talking to where we're gonna meet in this hallway. That's the problem. The problem is not phone calls. The problem is they're texting and drama and gossip and not learning. And if you think it doesn't happen, it's
does.
a hot mess.
Everyone.
And I agree, and
But you can't.
I see both,
Yeah.
I see both sides of the issue. As a parent
It's
who
just, it's
has.
taking away educational
Right.
learning time.
And as a parent that has, you know, 2 children in high school,
Yeah.
I agree with Ron that a phone is a tool that those kids use. It should not be abused in the classroom, so if we should create a policy that states that phones should not be on during school. If the teachers in their classroom say, hey, we're whatever, you can have it for the last 5 minutes, then.
But then that
you know,
just broke policy, yeah.
But then you give discretion, what you just asked, with them, you give discretion to the teacher.
Mm-hmm.
If they want it for the last 10 minutes, they have finished their project or whatever it may be.
They
and
have a
say,
school provided device. They have no reason to be on their phone during class time. I'm sorry, like that's just, it's for learning. There is nothing good that happens of them for being on their phone.
I
For
totally
5
agree.
minutes, nothing
This
good.
is-
But if you want to keep it where
Yes.
they have it because your fear is an emergency,
Yes.
which that's fine. But I don't think there's any reason a child should be on their phone no matter what time it is during instructional time. That's just my
This
stance,
is
doesn't
just
matter.
my fight every
Yeah.
single period
Oh, I know.
throughout the entire day, you know? And
There's
it's, and
no-
a lot of it
we
is because
provide them a
there's
device.
other
They
teachers
don't need their phone for
that
anything.
allow it. And now
Yeah.
they're allowing them to listen to music on their phones and everything,
Nope.
where
They have a
I
device,
bought
it plays
earbuds
music.
and they're not following it, you
And
know?
same thing, if the parent
So-
needs to get a hold of a kid, they can call the school. They don't need to be calling and texting their child during the day.
Yeah.
I'm also believe that.
Are we willing to send it to the board for a full vote?
Could we just
I
ask
don't
Mr.
know that we
Meyer?
have a-
Well, that's what our policy
Consensus.
initially is supposed to be.
What?
This year was, during instructional time, you are
Yeah.
not supposed to use it, period. But when you go in the hallways, when you go to lunch
Yeah.
and you go to study hall, you can use it. That's why I thought the balance was between that, because I don't want it during class either. I get it. But I'm fine with, because parents do text their kids all the time, and it doesn't matter, we can say parents should know better, but they do text their kids.
Parents should know better. I
But
should
they-
know better.
But they, that's okay.
Hey,
But
Mom,
that's how
I
we
forgot to
communicate.
tell you I have
Agreed.
this after class.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's not a problem, but as long
But-
as you're
and they
not
can't
answering
email
it
their
at
parents, though.
9:15, can you wait till 9:42 when class is done? 100%, I'm
So
all
I-
about it.
That's fine, as long as that's still okay. Like, there's been issues that my daughter's had, you know, and you can't email to a parent in the district that's not on district email. So there's literally, unless she goes to the office or uses the classroom phone, if there is one, there's no way to say like, you know, my practice is canceled, or I just set this up, you know what I mean? And I'm not fighting this, I'm just saying, like, we need to look at it realistically so that at least the policy allows for that.
Phones may not be displayed during instructional.
I'm fine with that,
And
100%.
no earbuds. I don't,
Yeah,
you
earbuds.
should not be
So annoying.
listening.
How
Okay,
important
5
are
minutes
you?
after
Yes.
whatever. No, but like if they can't be in the classroom and hear that there's an emergency or there's something going on because they got their earbuds in and they're listening to TikToks or listening to music, I say no earbuds.
And that was one of the concerns that I had with, if we put them on the calculator holder, that they'd still have their ear, you know, that'd
Yeah.
still be on, they'd still have their ear, but right, the ear, yeah.
Yeah,
right.
No earbuds.
It's
like
no-
you're driving
no
in a
phone
car.
during instructional
I support that.
activity.
Yes.
So basically, kind of what we're doing now, we just need to do a better job enforcing it.
Yes.
Well, and
that'd
then
be
do
up to
we,
you guys.
do we have, that would be in the handbook, not the policy.
So-
Repercussions, right?
The repercussions, correct.
That would not be
But
part of
you as a
policy, that'd be
district
handbook.
can put a policy in place that says, cell phones will not be used during instructional time.
Period. And then when they review the handbooks,
So
you'll
the
have to
teachers
do
know that,
what that is.
that's backed up by the board.
Yeah.
That
If
that
you guys
policy
put
is
it in
backed
board
up by the
policy, it's 100%. And the only way it's gonna change after the second reading would be you guys removing it from board policy. So what I will do is have Mr. Meyer kind of write up a policy, Mr. Meyer and I will write up a policy that you guys can review. And then what I also have Mr. Meyer do is kind of give you a snapshot of what his handbook would then read following said policy.
That'd be great.
And then next board meeting,
Yes.
we can have it down as a first reading. You can kind of get where you're going to come from over the summer once he puts the handbook together. That way, at the first reading, if there's problems, we stop it there. If there's not problems, we go to the second reading. Is
And
that fair?
then, Dr. Quasi will have to do what she wants in hers and Nicole in hers. Because if it's a
Okay.
district policy, it's for every school, so
Yeah.
every handbook will have to have whatever they want in it.
I agree with none during instructional
Instructional
time,
time.
just
Yeah.
not taking it from them, because if there's an emergency.
Honestly, every single time we do drills, that's the first question, is can we use our phones? And I'm like, honey, as long as we are, what we need to do and whatever, not, I will tell you when you can. Like, they think of that immediately, unfortunately. I mean, fortunately too, because then they can reach family.
Sure. Number five.
Yeah, and that's
You know
my
what I'm
concern
fine.
about taking it away completely, then they
Yeah.
have no, if they have to evacuate the building, then, I mean, that's just gonna lead to chaos for
Yeah.
communication with the school, so.
I agree with you too.
And you have older siblings, and, yeah. But I agree, I like that.
Yep. Okay.
Okay, tighten it
All
up.
right, so tighten it up and bring it to us.
Of course.
Thank you.
All right, is there anything else in this policy that anybody wants to talk about? Is there anything that stood out? I just saw a lot
So-
of red lines, which means
I know-
dates.
I know one of the hot topics that was statewide is within the 660. I wanted to reiterate, 660, we still do not have a comprehensive health education class It does not exist at Beecher, no matter what you read in any newspaper, and we are not teaching any national sex ed standards. They tried to push it through Springfield, the last lawmaking session. It did not get to a vote where everybody had to accept them, so it is still not a thing here at Beecher. I know it was kind of a hot button topic in January of last year. I think it was Press Plus 108. So just to reiterate, I know when we have press policy things like this, people always want to ask, it is not a thing here at Beecher.
The comprehensive sex education.
A comprehensive
Yeah.
sex health
education.
course.
Correct.
Yes.
We have a comprehensive health.
We have a health
Yes.
course, correct.
Right, with sex
So-
education in our health.
Correct.
But it's not
And
the
because-
state, it's not those
no, no,
statements.
no, I just wanna make sure that we're all on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
no.
Right.
So as long as you don't have a course designated specifically to, you do not have to.
Are there a
adopt
lot
the
of
standards.
districts that do?
If you go north of 80, you do.
Yes.
No.
If you go south of 80,
Okay.
so.
All right, anything further?
No.
All right, do we have any public comment? Yes, but you can,
I
just state your name. and-
oh, yes, Melanie Brennenstall, Greg Sanders.
Yep.
No. In committee, it's less
Committee,
formal.
yeah, it's less formal.
So,
Yeah.
and I have younger kids, so I come from just as an observer, not as having kids in high school. But with this cell phone policy, when you started talking about it, you were saying that bullying was a concern during the school day, because they can use it on their phones. Well, letting them use it during lunch and passing periods and study halls would not prevent that. You know, then that would just, they'd wait till that point. I don't think that, and maybe I just, because we all went through school without them, I understand the need for the security that everybody feels nowadays having their phone on them and off. But I don't think that there's any reason that they need to have them out at all during the day. I mean, these high school kids are going out into the real world. And there are some jobs where you lock your phone in your locker or you put it away for the day and you can't have it out. And I've seen firsthand, it's like some of these younger kids just fall apart if they can't have their phones on them. So reinforcing that, I don't think is a good way to teach them, you know, how to survive in the real world. Again, I understand having it off, but they are here to learn. They are here to socialize with their peers. And I think that it's our responsibility to be the adults and enforce that and tell them, no, this is not okay to do. And that just kind of my feeling on that, so for what it's worth.
And a lot of
I'm right
parents-
there.
I know.
That's me. You all know this. I'm like, they had cell phones when I was in high school. It's not like
I know.
I'm so old they didn't exist yet. I had cell phones. They had to be off and in our locker.
Yes.
It was also,
Like-
but, yeah, it was also.
And with older kids, what I'm seeing is there's a lot of parents who are just like that. And I will let a parent know, you know, that their kid was not putting away when I asked. And that kid does not have a phone at school the rest of the week. Like, amazing, right? And then there's some parents that are like, my kid will have their phone on them, and if I text them, they will answer no matter what, and you can't tell them not to.
But the same thing, like,
So you get both.
if you
I
have
know,
the lunch
I
and the
know.
passing period, it still is the same problem. Is,
Right,
you know?
especially when it's a personal possession. The problem being is that it is their personal
If you-
possession and the parent believes that they have a direct, I know.
If we have a policy that states that they can't have it on during instructional time,
Yeah,
okay, then there's, either that would be up to our administrators
well, yes.
to handle.
And it backs the teacher saying, put it away.
You know,
It's
because-
in policy, instructional time. And that instructional time could be study hall, or if there's an issue in lunch.
It's a 40-minute,
Put it away.
40-minute block that they have to put their phones away for. That's for them to enforce after, once the board policy comes down, I'm
Yeah.
for that, but I'm not for taking it away from them, turning it off, doing
Yeah.
all that, go and put it in your locker, I ain't
Sure.
for that. So I just ask you guys if you guys agree.
Yeah, I mean,
to,
Yeah, and I see it all. I see all sides.
Yeah.
I fight this every single day. I totally agree.
You gotta find the middle ground there.
Yeah.
And, you know,
And I understand that, you know, to Melanie's point, that, you know, it is good if we're looking against bullying, but it's not going, if we say that it's off and we enforce it that it's off during instructional time, those things aren't gonna go as quickly, because you're gonna have all the people that are doing the TikToks and the Snapchats, they're not doing it all at the same time in the classroom. one will do it this period, then they'll see it this period, then they'll respond to that period. So, I mean, we're never gonna stop it,
And if we're gonna be
unfortunately.
real,
We're
come on,
never,
I mean, yeah.
I would love to. I'd love to be able to end bullying altogether, but, you know, it's,
Hopefully it'll
It's-
help slow it down for you.
So, all right, so,
I don't.
it's, there is, I mean,
Every jaded
honestly,
look.
it's not, and then they're gonna go home. I mean,
I know,
it's
I know.
just, it's.
so,
And we're as parents trying to, you know, I know that I'm constantly trying to play catch up to
But
understand
some
it.
monitor and some
Yeah.
have no idea and don't care. That's the best thing that's there is they've got this social media, they've got TikTok, they've got this, that's their whole day because unfortunately, I've had kids come say, my parents don't even talk to me anyway. This is my whole life. And so my parents don't care about me. And that's
Which is why we have to do
unfortunate.
so much
I know.
SEL
That's
learning
how
and
it works.
everything,
since
because
we have
it's
no
not
more,
being taught.
since we have no more public comment, I need to check my TikTok.
sorry.
Just
Yeah,
joking.
right? Go ahead.
All right,
And
so,
Brian's gonna put one
We all
on.
see the whole thing. No, I hear you.
Yeah.
And that's why I was trying to be fair to, because going cold turkey with certain people it's difficult. And whatever you choose to go cold turkey,
Have you
that's why
ever,
I try to be
have you ever
fair.
tried to take a cell phone away from a
But I'm
teenage
not
girl?
saying-
No, you take the charger and let it die slowly.
Whatever you want.
my
Yeah.
daughter
Do what we need to
will
do.
probably yell at me, but I took her phone from her, you know, she looked like that the world ended for a day and a half.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
I turn it off family sharing, and then, oh.
All right, so, and no further.
Yeah, we have to
any
go.
public comment?
Sure.
What is the current policy versus what he's trying to add to or take away from the current policy?
Currently, it's only in the handbook. It's not.
We don't have a policy.
It's not a board policy.
So when he initially asked, sorry, I don't mean to interrupt you.
No, that's
When he asked to enforce that, he wanted a stricter policy and it was denied? Is that the part I missed?
I wanted something that we could put in a sleeve, so you walk into class, if you choose to have your cell phone, okay? You can keep it in the locker, you can keep it wherever, but you choose to walk in the cell phone, there's going to be a
Right.
calculator.
Like a shoe,
I'm gonna
yeah,
pull it
right.
right there.
Hold the school's
Boom.
liable.
And I'm gonna put it
Yeah.
there. Now, what my alleged lawyer, the Illinois Principal Association lawyer, great guy, but I said, so if we put that up there, and, because I had a parent say, well, what if it falls? What happens? You're gonna pay for my, and so I wrote, hey, here's the situation, let me know what you think. So I said, if a kid puts it up there, it falls and breaks, are we liable? He didn't give me an answer. And that's why I thought the lawyer was gonna say black and white, yes, black and white, no, and he's just like, well, no, they could sue you. And so I'm like, I'm not putting these guys through a policy that I don't know what's gonna happen. So that's why I backed off
So
and
now
just
we're
said,
trying to reiterate a new policy to get the board's backing.
it's basically
and all the
this,
staff can follow it too.
it is basically, this policy is what we have
That's
now.
fine.
Yeah, but if I wanted something on the wall, but I didn't want, if something broke or was stolen, now are we on the line for $400, $500, something like
Right.
that?
And
he did
my
not comply.
It's just a
Sorry.
sticky situation.
My concern to that point when it was originally brought up also was not, you know, liability for being broken, but somebody just goes and snags somebody else's phone and that
But
could turn into a huge issue.
You gotta remember, these are
So-
Or take
not
somebody
$200
else's instead of
phones.
theirs.
Most of these phones in our hands are 13, 1200, yeah.
Yeah.
So, and so is there anybody else in the committee there that wants to talk? Okay, so, no, since we have no further as the committee here, I'm gonna ask for an adjournment. All in favor?
So moved. Oh.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, please.
All right, awesome.
Well, one sometime. I got, yeah, guys is coming down.
My mom.
Bless the guy from
She's selling the house?
Yeah, no.
Floor, gonna show me
They
some
did,
colors.
but then it
You
fell
wanna
through with Bobby and
switch this
Barb,
over?
and long story, but it's on by
Now we're doing
Worthing,
a
and
special
they
board
accepted
meeting.
a contingency, but it's in Crestwood.
Okay,
Yeah,
that's
the person's house that has to sell
Maybe
is in
after, maybe
Crestwood.
after.
They could. So they gave them 3 weeks, but then in the midst of all this, my mom's refused her ankle and then fell real bad. She was in the hospital.
So she was moving like she wasn't supposed to?
Of course. And she only has one leg that she can't bear, and she has no balance.
Yeah.
Middle of the night.
So she
She
wasn't
can't wake my
listening.
dad up. Bless her heart. And she's had excruciating headaches for a week. So it took 6 days for me to get them to go in. Yes. Yep, I got it. Yes. We're going to be moving right over. This is a special board meeting, so if there is public comment, you have to actually fill out a sheet instead of the informal committee, just so we know. All right. Are we rolled into the next? Are you ready?
Good, good, good. I agree.
All right.
We have to,
All right, I'm gonna call the meeting to order. Pledge of allegiance. All rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. Roll call, noting Mr. Hernandez absent, and we are sent out the message to fill the empty boards. There's no public comment received. Does anybody have a need to go into executive session?
No,
No.
but I will address, I will take the, right before I vote, I have something I want to read.
Absolutely. So we're going into Dr. Gaham's contract / extension that we are very happy that he would want to stay with our district, and we appreciate him. Go ahead, Ron, if you have something.
I just want to state, listen, everybody knows, back a couple months ago, we went after, we gave an extra 1%. And we are raked over the coals for it, okay, during a referendum.
Absolutely.
Okay, and we'll vote again for an unexpired contract. This is not like we're saying, hey, we don't want you. It's an unexpired contract, okay, and with a salary increase. Okay, I personally pushed for his hire, everybody knows that, and the board agreed with me, and everybody else did too. I appreciate all he has done for ours, and I believe that he will get a contract. But I believe right now, asking the residents again during the referendum, it's not good for our chances of the referendum that we need bad.
Sure.
Okay, so when I make my vote, I want everybody to know that's why I'm doing what I do. It's not the personal, because he knows I like him a lot. And I won't be able to see the rest of his progress, but his contract is not expiring. It's not like we're trying to get rid of him. So before anybody understands that, and before people get upset, because they will, either way, it's not that. It's nothing to do with it.
And I would like to say, though, that we are at the point in his contract where this is where he would start looking elsewhere, or we would retain him. And we haven't kept a superintendent past the initial contract in 12 years. And that's a very long time. And I fully support it, clearly. But also with the referendum, and I know that this is going to be a point that people will criticize, but with the referendum going or not going, the stress is going to fall on Dr. Gaham's back. And Dr. Gaham performs 5 jobs that we could easily hire for, which would equal $500,000.
Sure, and I agree
So
with you.
to give him a raise that in 4 years, he will be closer, not at, but closer to all of the comparables in the area, because he makes such a great deal less than all of our comparables. To give him a raise where he will be closer where they are right now, he will be closer to in 4 years. That's why. And when you're in, when you're as useful as he has been to our district, I feel that our vision, with or without the referendum, it will be under his leadership.
You're correct, but I have, the reason I do what I do and say what I say is because we're gonna be cutting music, art, and sports. Those are programs from our kids, but here we are. This guys gotta hear me out, man. We're spending more money, while our kids are gonna be with less. So I'm not saying it's the wrong thing. You deserve every dollar you get. There's no
But we
doubt about
also,
it.
we gave the teachers a raise. We just renewed all of our administration contracts,
all
and
do
they
it.
got
They're yearly.
raises. And the same thing, well, not everyone's yearly, that's on administration. So this is like the time, like I wouldn't see why we would not, everybody else in the district gets a raise, but sorry, Jack, not you, because last year people threw a fit that we gave you $1,000 raise. That doesn't make sense. Everybody,
Which covers gas
everybody
more.
gets their raise every year.
Yes, and also to echo that, educational costs are what this referendum is under. This is not superfluous. We have some great leaders in our district.
We absolutely do.
The stress of the referendum is going to fall mostly on Dr. Gaham, but also on the admin and the teachers. And we need to keep our quality educators, or this district completely falls apart. So I understand you saying that, but this is one thing that I am very proud to be able to vote for, because I think it's an accomplishment that we were offering to keep someone, because that's how our district has failed in the past. Okay. Anybody else have any comments?
Yes, I'd just like to say that he's kept all the promises that he made. He did not have his doctorate before, when we hired him. He assured us he would have it. He did so. And a doctorate is worth more money. And the financial acuity that he's shown is tremendous. I'm all for it.
And I can always explain what those extra positions would be if we need to put in $500,000 of grant writers and assistant superintendents of HRs and everything.
Curriculum director,
Right?
SBL.
Thank you, Dr. Gaham. Okay. All right, then I am going to ask for a motion to approve Dr. Gaham's superintendent contract as presented, 2023 through 2027.
So moved.
Second.
Pappas?
Yes.
Flores?
Yes.
Belt?
Yes.
Missouri?
As I stated, no.
Herman?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Gaham, we appreciate you.
Thank you.
And your patience and hard work and dedication. Okay. And our minibus.
So, the last board meeting, so if we go back to the last transportation meeting, there was 2 big buses that were gonna be purchased. We got it down to 1. So I talked to Ms. Fellaini, who's the transportation supervisor, and we said, hey, we'll get the minibus next year. Well, we've run into a slight hiccup. We can do this, but it's gonna cost us an extra $42,000. So this bus in particular would be our Wilmington route, and right now our Wilmington bus is completely full. One more kid, we need a second bus, which means we need a second driver, a second monitor, which would cost the district, at the current rate, $42,000. This bus is bigger, which means we can keep the route the same, we can keep the monitor the same, we can use one bus. And with the purchase of this bus, it will allow us to create a second white bus. And what our staff has figured out after the year and a half of having it is it's a really good asset. So as I've said, I wasn't a proponent of the second bus. I pushed for the year delay. We have, Kelly did her due diligence. She did find a short bus that can be available in June, which would be on the next school year for $94,000. So it's $30,000 cheaper than having one made. And remember when Kelly talked to you guys, there's an 18-month wait on anything that we order. So again, I don't like spending money when we don't have to, but this alone will pay for itself in 2 years.
And that's just the bus. That's not even a rough estimate on how much money we've saved with that mini white bus.
Correct.
For them to be able to take that, that paid for itself in like a year.
And the $43,000 doesn't include the fuel costs of, that's just the monitor and the driver on one route for 171 days.
Does that have the wheelchair?
Yes, this would be a wheelchair bus. I believe it actually has spots for 4 wheelchairs on it. So it's an expanded wheelchair as well. So it's a bigger mini bus than we have right now, obviously.
Yeah.
But there's 1 or 2 that she found. This is from Bluebird. Bluebird? Yeah, as opposed to the large bus was Midwest, different company, but it is used. It's a 2020?
Okay.
Does this amount?
2022.
2022.
So is this just purchasing the bus? It's not painting the other bus? Is that a future thing that
So
we'll be
once
talking about
this
improving to
is
make it a white
purchased,
bus?
yeah, so I've already talked to Kelly. Once this gets, now we're still waiting for an engine to be put into bus number 14. That would be the bus. Once that gets dropped in there, that'd be the one that is created as a white bus.
It does state in here paint.
No, as in she's talking about the other bus.
Oh,
The transfer in a yellow bus to white
White
bus
bus.
is
Yeah.
what she's asking.
got it.
Yeah. So the 94,000 here is specific to
Just for the
this
bus?
bus. Yep.
So that'll be a future, when it all gets done, thing we'll
Right.
talk about, okay.
Yep, that's something that, well, maybe,
We won't know who's at
Yeah.
transportation at that time.
Yeah.
It will be a new committee.
correct. Trying to remember who's on committee. Juan's on committee.
One, apparently, possibly
I'm
me,
terrible at committees, I'm sorry.
as I'm taking on the committee
That's why I have
positions.
Katie. She tells me who's on committees.
Yes, that's me. Okay.
How often do you think that we would be using 2 small white buses? Like, is there a need for?
Well, if you only have varsity sports, it's less than 14. I
well.
can do that every day.
Then we save even more money because we don't have to have a bus driver.
Exactly, the coach drives it.
Look how much money we're saving.
I hear Coach
So you
Pamsek is a
could-
really
so-
good bus driver.
But if we did have an extended team, let's say we want to take our varsity basketball and maybe our cheer will actually get to go to away games, but.
Right. That would be-
Then they can each take a white bus.
Right, yeah, yep. A good example would have been, well, no, our JV didn't play, but hypothetically, our JV didn't play at Grant Park against St. Anne's. Our cheerleaders did take the bus to the RVC championship. Our varsity could have taken a second one instead of having to worry about it. And again, when we pay somebody, it's their hourly rate and the duration they're there. So it's,
Yeah.
And also, we are not doing that out of, like, we didn't have enough drivers for sports events and stuff like that, because I also don't want to make it that we're taking, jobs or stipends away from other bus drivers as well. That is not
They're
what
hard
this
to
is
fill.
though.
Right.
We
Yeah.
have an issue filling those, so that's a thing. Okay.
And this is a separate fund. This is not where our deficit is. The transportation fund is
It's healthy.
helping.
Correct.
So,
it is,
The problem that we're having is in our education.
right.
Exactly. So I need a motion to approve the 37-passenger mini wheelchair bus.
so moved.
Second.
Could I get you guys to make that motion to not exceed,
To not
94,000.
exceed 95,000?
so what?
Is there tax?
So I believe the number was 94,500, so if you could say not to exceed 95,000, just to make sure that there is a number on the record that the board approved.
Absolutely. So I need
Well, hold on,
the,
you have to vote on this one first.
okay, and then add it. Okay, that's fine.
Flores.
So-
So we're saying no because we're redoing it?
You guys are saying anything you want, but I would recommend the superintendent to deny this motion and make a new.
No.
I'm just there.
Sorry. Miss Katie and I talked about a script, okay? All right, go ahead.
No. Help.
Me? Oh, so no. I forget
Mr.
my
Rick.
answer.
No.
Herman.
No.
Pappas.
No.
Okay, good. Let's.
All right, here we go. I need a motion to approve a 37-passenger mini wheelchair bus not to exceed $95,000.
I'll move it. So moved.
Second.
Flores.
Yes.
Bell.
Yes.
Missouri.
Yes.
Herman.
Yes.
Pappas.
Yes.
Motion carried.
Thank you.
I did want to mention one more thing that I meant to after the superintendent contract. I don't feel so part of the evaluation year for a superintendent is that we set goals, which we would technically be doing now. I'm gonna wait till you guys have the new board and that you guys have a new leadership and everything, because I feel like that's something that you guys can collaborate on together and then set the vision moving forward. So we're gonna pause that, and I will have all of my evaluation materials forwarded on, and you guys can.
Everybody will, the next board, whoever it may be, they're all great candidates, they will all see his.
Amazingness, and they'll be a fan too.
I was there when he got hired as principal, and I was there
Yes.
when he got hired as superintendent, and he's gonna be here a long term, so that's good.
No matter what, he can make all of us laugh, even if we're crabby.
So you're saying he's a comedian?
Yes. Funny,
That's my
funny
fault.
how. Okay. I just need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you.
If you don't want your policies, I'll do second.